Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, can hear it great.
Okay. Do you want to try video once?
Sure.
I hope there's no lag today, right now.
Right now, it sounds great. No lag.
Okay, perfect. That's really good to know.
Great, great, great. All right. So in like a minute, I'll open the webinar for like all the
Yeah,
attendees.
right.
And yeah, then we can. I mean, we'll give them a few minutes to join, and
Yeah,
we can
and then
start.
we can start by like you're gonna start with your introductions, and then you're gonna. Are you gonna introduce me, or should I introduce myself?
I will say that you're here with us. I'll say we have Arpit, you said community specialist, right?
Right. Yeah, that's the designation. Yeah.
And then you can introduce yourself and talk about Integromat and start a presentation.
Okay. Okay. So, all right. So, at any point, if you need to kind of interrupt, you can just leave a message. But so I should just go on, right? Like all
Yeah.
the three scenarios back to back. I might just go a little fast at times. So just if you think I'm going too far, just let me know.
Okay, no
Um,
problem.
all right.
Sounds good.
So,
I will for
okay.
now. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. I'm gonna open the broadcast for everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get off video for now, but once we start, I'll open it again.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm just going to wait a couple more minutes for more people to join us. We have more people joining. So we'll start in just about 2 minutes, but hang in there. In the meantime, if you don't mind typing in the chat or Q&A that you can hear me well. And then also maybe introduce yourself, what industry from, maybe some information about what you're looking to get out of today's webinar. I would love to hear more from you guys. So we'll start in just about 2 minutes, and let me know if you can hear me well. See you soon. Hey everybody again. Thank you so much for all the comments. I'm just scrolling through and seems like we're going to cover everything that you're looking for. So this is really exciting. I'm just going to wait one more minute before we actually get started, and then I'll introduce our special guest from Integromat today. So hang in there. We'll start in 1 minute as we have more people joining, and I don't want anybody to miss out on anything. So I'll be with you in just a second. All right, so guys, let me start by opening my camera so you can also see me. I hope you guys can see me well now. It is a pleasure to meet you all, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Omri. I'm a customer success manager here at Monday.com. As you guys know, we recently added this amazing new integration with Integromat that brings a lot of new opportunities to your Monday.com doorstep. And for that, with all the opportunities, we felt like we gotta have a webinar talking all about that. And we are honored to have today Arpit, who's a community specialist from Integromat. He's right here with us. He'll walk you through all the magics of Integromat. He's very knowledgeable, and he's here to show you some really cool tips and then answer your questions. I'm gonna let him speak now. He's gonna talk for about 30 minutes. Then we're gonna have 30 minutes of Q&A. So anything you guys wanna know, just feel free to ask. Arpit, take it away.
All right, thanks Omri. Really glad to be here. So, hey guys, I'm Arpit Chaudhary, and I basically take care of all community initiatives here at Integromat. Thank you again for joining this awesome webinar. So for those of you who are not super familiar with Integromat, I'd like to start by giving you a quick brief about Integromat and why we think it's a great addition to your toolbox, and how you can really create magic when you use it with awesome tools like Monday.com. So yeah, so a quick brief is basically Integromat is the most advanced workflow automation tool that lets you essentially connect anything and automate everything. Unlike other automation tools out there, Integromat doesn't restrict you to linear integrations. Linear integrations are ones that basically have you to stick to a set of predefined steps. So instead of that, Integromat lets you literally play with your data and create your own routes using the inbuilt router module that we have. We'll get to that in a minute. We also got some cool tools such as iterators, aggregators, transformers. If you're familiar with them, then you already know how powerful they are. If you're not, you should dive in and start exploring. And one of the core USPs about Integromat is that it lets you literally connect to any API or web service using our HTTP and JSON modules that are again inbuilt into Integromat. So yeah, that's a quick brief about Integromat. I'm hoping most of you are already familiar with it. So we're going to jump right in, and we're going to build some cool scenarios. Okay, so I'm just going to shut my video now. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Just 1 second, hang in there. Okay, so I believe you guys can all see my screen. Oops, I'm sorry. There has to be a glitch, you know. All right, so So basically what I'm going to show you is how to create scenarios using some of the existing templates that we already have. So if you head over to your template section on the dashboard, and if you just filter by monday.com, you'll see all of these templates that are already there, pre-built. So we've chosen two of the most important ones that we think are really useful for everybody here. So yeah, just 1 second, please. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna start with this one, which says update a due status column based on another status column. So what it does is, this is my Monday board, and what it does is it lets you update another status column based on an existing status column by checking the due date of that pulse. So so to get started, you just need to choose this template right here. We've got really easy to use template wizard that literally guides you through every step, and you can have it up and running in a few minutes. So you just need to start by clicking on create new scenario from template, and a wizard like this will open, which will basically guide you step by step. So the first step is to select your organization. So many of you might be part of multiple organizations on Integromat. You might be managing your clients' organizations. So the first step is to select your organization. So I'm going to select one of my organizations here. As soon as I do that, the wizard will show you step 2. And here, if you haven't already, you need to connect your monday.com account. I already have one connected here, but if you need to connect a new one, you need to click on add, and you need to enter your API key, which you can get from the admin section of your monday.com account. All right, so that's my account. And then we need to select a board ID. So I'm going to select one of my boards. And as you see, I click continue. It's going to automatically guide me to the next step. The step 3 is to add a filter. So filters are really useful, and filters let you basically create really awesome rules. Oh yeah, and of course the router module. You see the router module here, which I mentioned earlier. So a router basically lets take the data and send it to multiple places. So we use a router here, and then the filter module basically lets you filter by creating a condition. The condition here is already pre-filled when you're using templates. That's the beauty about templates. You don't really need to make any change, but just to explain it to you, you need to get you need to go to the status array, and you need to get the index. We have this attribute here, and it's equal to 1, which means the status is done. Okay, we click on continue, and it'll take me to the next step. Okay, sometimes this takes a while. Yeah, so my connection is already there. I need to just select my board. As soon as I select my board, I'm asked to select a column ID. So I want to update the due status column, right? So I'm going to select the due status column right here. And the color index. So since this filter checks if a particular task or pulse is done, we select 1 or done as the color index. And here we need to map the board's pulse ID, which we get from the first module, which says list pulses in the board. And this is the pulse ID, which is mapped right here. And you click on continue. So here we have another filter, which basically checks if a pulse status is not equal to done. Basically, it's not done. It's not equal to done. So you need to select an operator from here, which is not equal to, and 1 represents done. Okay, so here you see this attribute. When you see an attribute like this, basically you know that something is wrong. So this attribute is actually incorrect. So you need to get the date attribute from your column value. So this is the correct attribute. So we remove this and we select this. All right. And we need to see if the date is equal to okay, yeah. So this condition basically checks if the pulse is due today. All right. So we need to check if the date is equal to today, and that we use a function called format date. So we've got these inbuilt functions that let you format a date. So we use the format date function with the now attribute, which fetches the current date and time. And we format the date in this particular format. To know more about our functions, you can head over to this page on our knowledge base, the functions page. And here you can learn more about the format date function. All right, so again, we continue. The next step is basically to update the status column's value. So again, we select my board. We select due status. Color index is due today. It's selected automatically. And the board's pulse ID. And now we just repeat the same steps in the following filters and modules. Okay, so we do this. I'm going to run through this part because it's essentially the same steps being followed. The first filter here checks if the pulse is due today. The second one checks if the pulse is overdue. And the third one checks if the pulse is upcoming. So this one's overdue. We continue. The third one checks if the pulse is upcoming. Select the board ID, the column ID, and here 3 is equal to upcoming. All right. So that's it. The template is ready to go. It's set up. Now, as I run it, you will see that this group called development pulses has the status column with these statuses, and the due status is blank, it's empty. You'll see how that changes. So yeah, one of the main things is to select your scenario interval, whether you want to run it at regular intervals or once only or every day or whatever. And then you can enter the number of minutes for the interval. You've also got a lot of advanced scheduling features here, which you can explore later. So that's done. And after we set up a scenario, we click on run once just to make sure it's working fine. Okay. So here we click on run once and head over to the board. And fingers crossed, hope everything goes well. And the scenario is going to quickly run. You'll see it's going to run and it's going to update this column. Oh, there you go. Perfect. So you see the date column here. July 11th is due today. July 9th is overdue. July 16th is upcoming. And July 26th, it says done because the status column has been marked as done. All right. So, all right. So yeah, that's how you set up a scenario using a template. And don't save it, you need to save it. And then you need to switch on the scheduling to on to make sure the scenario keeps running. All right. Omri, do you want to take some questions at this point, or should I head over to the next scenario?
Sure. If you guys have any questions in regard to this scenario, then feel free to put it, like, type it right here in the chat or Q&A. We'll take about 30 seconds to let you guys do it, and we'll take the questions, and then we'll move on to the next scenario.
Yeah. I
can see that Sarah wants you to show us an example, creating a unique job number for each pulse. If it's possible. But right. Sarah, I can also show you how it's done on Monday.com if you want. So, we have other scenarios that are more popular, but we'll try to get to that for sure. If not, I'll send you an email, or send me an email, and I'll send you some instructions on how to do it and some cool options that you have for sure.
Yep. And Sarah is saying, why are we repeating the process? Well, we're repeating the process because we're trying to check if the pulse is upcoming, if it's overdue, or if it's due today. And that's why we need to repeat the process thrice for each of these. All right, so I guess we should head to the next one.
Oh, Don is asking if you could please quickly show us the filters.
Sure, okay. So I'm gonna zoom in here. The first filter, which you can actually name your filters. So if you right click here and you click on set up a filter, this is the name of the filter, the label. And this filter checks if the status is done, right? So you have to get this particular attribute under column values, under status, we select index. And it has to be equal to 1. We select the equal to operator under numeric operators, and it's equal to 1. So that's one filter which checks if the status is done already. And then we got a filter here to check if the status is not done, right? So then same attribute is not equal to 1, which means the status is not done. And then we add another router to check if the pulse is due today, whether it's overdue or if it's upcoming. And accordingly, we've got 3 filters that check the date column, and we check it with the current date. So if it's equal to the current date, it means it's due today. If it's earlier than the current date, it means it's overdue, if the due date is earlier than the current date. So here under date time operators, yeah, I should have mentioned this. So under date time operators, you need to select earlier than for overdue, and for upcoming pulses, you select later than, which means the due date is later than the current date. All right. So yeah, so those are the filters that we've used in this particular scenario. All right, so I'm going to head over to the next scenario, which is also fairly common and really useful. And what this does is it sends an email reminder to the person 24 hours ahead of the due date. So it basically looks for, do we have some questions? Okay, great. So it basically looks for, it watches pulses, and if a particular pulse is due within 24 hours, it sends out an email reminder to the person who is assigned. So yeah, it takes literally like a few minutes to build this scenario. It's got only 3 modules, and I'm going to show on Monday how, on monday.com how it looks. So if you look at this group, it's got 2 pulses, task A, task B, and these are the due dates, right? So July 12th is about 24 hours away. So when we build this scenario, you're going to click on create new scenario from template. Again, we select our organization, click continue. And the module that we use is list pulses in the board. It's a search module, which basically lists all the pulses in a particular board. So here we've got a connection already connected, and we select our board here. We click continue, and then we need to list all the users in that particular board, right? So we just use the list users module and click continue. All right, so this is the tricky part. Here again, we need to replace this with the date attribute. Under column values, we select the date. And if the date is equal to, if the date is equal to the current date less 1 day. So if you look at this formula here, we formatted the date, we've taken the now attribute, and we've added 1 day. So if the due date is equal to the current date plus 1 day, and the name of the person, which we get from this module, which lists the user. So the name of the user is equal to the name of the owner of that particular pulse. Then, so that's the filter we set up. We click continue. Then we've got the Gmail module here, but if you want to use some other provider, you could use the inbuilt email module and connect any other email account. So I've got my account connected here already, but if you need to connect a new one, you can just click on add here. You can name the connection, click continue, and it'll basically take you through OAuth and ask you to give permission to this, to Integromat to connect your account. I'm going to cancel that. All right, so here, now if you see, we've got these labels here. So here we need to enter the email address of the recipient. To do that, we get the email from the module list users. So we've got the email attribute right here. This is the subject of the email, which we made. It's called project. Name is the name of the pulse, which we get from module 1. If you look at this number 1, it corresponds to the module number right here. So that is the subject name, and then that's the content of the email. You can also use HTML tags in the content body, and we click continue, and the template is ready to go. All right, so on my board, I've got a task which is due in 24 hours. So I'm going to run this, and as soon as I run this, I should receive an email right now. All right. Now this part is the best. You actually get to see the scenario in action, and when you see this, you see that it's actually working fine when you see all of this. So what happened here is that it found the pulse, it listed all the users in the pulse, it checked using the filter if a pulse is due in the next 24 hours. And since there was one pulse that was due in the next 24 hours, it sent out an email to that person. And if I head over to my email, if you see right here, project task A is due in 24 hours. And that's the email I just received. All right, that was cool, right? So do we have any questions so far? Should we take some questions? Okay, Sarah is asking me to go to everyone on the team. You can add multiple recipients in the email module. So so technically, this scenario is to basically send a reminder to the person who is who the task has been assigned to. But you can obviously assign your task to multiple people on monday.com directly, and you can even have another column. Say you want to send an email to your manager. You can actually assign it to your manager, and then you can make the changes accordingly in the scenario. So here in this one, we're sending it only to the person who this task is assigned to, and that's why we're choosing the email address which we fetch from this module. Okay, email address which we fetch from the list users module, and it'll only fetch the email address of the user who is assigned, who has been assigned the task. Okay.
We have a question from Anthony. He's asking if you could please show how to fetch value from one board to another.
Fetch value from one board to another. Okay. So with what values would you like to fetch exactly?
So Anthony, if you don't mind, elaborate on that, and then we'll move on to the next scenario. Then you got, once we're done with the next scenario, we can answer all your questions in any regards, all right?
Yeah, so yeah, sure, yeah. Maybe what we can do is we can show you what are the different actions and triggers that we've got for monday.com. So if you click right here, yeah, this part is important. So you can see these are the different triggers that we've got, right? And if you go through these, you'll basically know what all you can do and what you can't. These are the different actions. And remember, a scenario usually starts with a trigger or a search. The scenario never starts with an action, right? So we've got all these triggers, we've got all these actions, and then we've got all the searches, right? So if you go over them, and they're really easy to understand, you'll pretty much understand what all you can do and how to do it, right? Yeah, I think okay, Sarah's question is answered. All right, so the next scenario is really useful, and instead of using a template, I'm going to show you guys how the scenario is built from scratch, right? So I've got the scenario built here. I'm going to take you through it step by step. So the first module is create a new group in the board. So if you see right here, under, sorry, create new board. Oops, I can't find it. All right, never mind. So the first module is create a new group in the board. So I'll click on this module, and That's my Monday connection.
Arpit, 1 second. I think we have a connection problem because we cannot see anything. Like we see your screen, but it's frozen.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
There you go. We're good now.
Okay. Okay. Do you see this? Create a new group each day with 2 tasks and assign them to people.
Guys, can you let us know in the chat if you see the screen?
All right. Let me just share it again. I'm going to share my entire screen this time. All right. Do you see it now?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, my bad. Okay. So this scenario is called create a new group each day. Tasks, assign them to people. What it essentially does is on monday.com, creates a new group such as this one every day. And the name of the group is the current date. It creates 2 tasks under that group and assigns them to the people who you want to assign them to. All right. So yeah, I'm going to start again. The first module is create a new group in the board. So we got a connection on the board ID. And this is the title of the group. So like you see here, the title is the current date. So we use the format date function and we format the date in the format that we want to use. Here you'll find all the date and time functions. So you've got format date right here. You've got the now variable right here. Okay, so yeah, and then we add a router because we want to create 2 pulses. And the process is exactly the same for both. So I'm going to show you just one. Again, connection, board ID, group ID. So you get the group ID from here. That's the attribute. Owner ID, you could select different owner, or I've just chosen myself. That's the pulse's name, whatever you want to name the pulse. So you can just type in right here. I've called it daily report. And updates text is optional. You can either have it or not. And the next module is update a person column's value. So this is the module that's assign the task to a particular person, right? So again, we've got these right here. Under column ID, we need to choose under which column you want to assign the pulse to. So I've got owner here. You can also choose another column. And then this is important, the board's pulse ID. So we get the board's pulse ID from this module, create a new pulse in the board, and that's the ID, right? Because you want to assign this particular pulse to this particular user, all right? And that's the user ID who you are assigning this pulse to. All right, so yeah, we do exactly the same thing here. You could obviously add more pulses, not just 2, you could add literally as many as you want. And this is the second pulse. I've called it morning scrum. I've assigned it to myself only. You can easily click the router here, add another one, and literally play around with this however you want. So I'm just gonna remove this one. I'm gonna run scenario once, and you'll see that a new group is created, which looks exactly like this with the 2 new pulses and assigned to myself. All right, moment of truth. Okay, we're waiting. All right, here you go. So that's the new group that was just created. That's the current date. Those are the 2 pulses with the names respectively, and been assigned to me. All right, so yeah, don't forget to save your scenario. Don't forget to switch it on. Don't forget to go to the schedule setting. And yeah, of course, sorry, I missed this part. When you click here or here, you need to, you can set your schedule setting. So it's set to every day at 6 a.m. Again, you can play around with it. You can change this, you can change the time, or you can go to advanced settings if you want to do really cool stuff. Okay, that's pretty much about it. I think we've covered quite a bit of ground here. Omri, do you want to take over now?
Sure. Thank you so much. Well, these are the 3 top scenarios and how you built those. Of course, you can use it to, and modify it for the ways that work best for you and your boards. But now we have about 30 minutes for you guys to ask any sort of question that you have. Arpit is here to answer all the questions. So yeah, feel free to start typing those in either in the Q&A section or the chat, and we'll start scrolling through all of the questions. So don't hesitate. And I see we already have a few questions. So let me just make sure I'm not missing out on anything.
Yeah, guys, if you have any particular questions regarding particular scenarios, you can always write to our support email address. I'm just gonna type in the support address right here so that we can help you out with those, because each scenario can be really specific, and it's best that we take those one-on-one. I'm also gonna share my personal email address. If you need to send me any particular question, I'll try my best to help you guys out.
Great. So the first question that we have is from Amanda. She's asking for the money.com integration. Is it possible to show an epic being closed out is done and it's updating a status in monday.com?
Yeah, so again, this is something that we'll have to take offline, because we don't have the Jira module configured right now. So yeah, it's best that I show these offline. And if you just send me an email, I'll try to send you a video or a screenshot of how to go about the scenario. I would recommend that we stick to questions regarding these scenarios, or any specific question regarding Integromat, because building scenarios from scratch can be a bit challenging while we do the webinar. So while we're at it, I just want to show you guys a couple more things.
Do you need to show?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could just show how we count operations and stuff, which is really useful to know.
Sounds great.
All right, so like you see here in this scenario, every time you run a scenario, you'll see these numbers here. So these signify the number of operations. So as you might already be aware, Integromat does not charge you for any of the features. You can have as many modules in your scenarios. You can have as many filters or whatever you want. We only charge for the number of operations, and we've got a very generous free plan. So every time you run a scenario, you'll see these numbers, and this particular scenario has consumed 7 operations, right? Similarly, this scenario right here has consumed 5 operations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it just helps to know when you're building your scenarios. There are times you might just add a lot of redundant steps and end up consuming your operations much faster than you imagine, right? So, and you can always go to your scenarios and go to a particular scenario and go to the history, and you'll be able to see all the other data right there. So yeah, and we've got other tools right here, router, repeat, iterator. We've got our aggregators right here. We've got text parsers here, and if you search for other modules such as the HTTP module or the JSON module, you can all find them here. So some of them are not visible on the scenario builder, but you just need to look for them. So you've got the HTTP module here, which has all these cool actions and an iterator, and we got sorry about that. We've got a JSON module right here. We also have an archive module. So these are all inbuilt modules that really let you do so much with your data. And we're working really hard to bring all these use cases to you in the form of webinars and videos. All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And Omri, do you want to take over now?
Yeah, let's see what else do we have. 1 second.
Yeah, the best.
All right, so Christy's asking if you could show in the last example how to change the dates to auto-populate pulses or tasks on certain dates, like the 1st and 15th of each month.
Okay, the last example,
The
which
last
means this,
scenario.
yeah. Create a new group each day with 2 tasks and assign them to people, correct?
First is this.
Is this the one? So, okay, yeah, I think you just need to change your schedule setting, and instead of every day at 6 a.m., you could have it at regular intervals. So interval, you can go to advanced scheduling, and then you can choose the days of the week, or you could choose the months. To do it at do it every 15. You said 15 and 30, so you select days of the week. Oh, sorry, my bad. You select days of the month.
Do you want to share your screen maybe so they can see?
Oh, I'm so sorry. My bad again. Yeah. So here, under the schedule setting, right now it's set to every day. My screen is visible, right, Omri?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's set to every day at 6 a.m. Now you have a lot of options right here, which you can play around with. So for this specific question, we'll select days of the month, and then we just select the dates. So if it's 15th and 30th, we just select 15th and 30th, and we select a time, and that's it. Similarly, you can select days of the week if you want it to be on particular days of the week. It can be every day, it can be once only, it can be at regular intervals also. You could actually define it if you want to make this happen every X number of minutes. So under interval, you define the number of minutes you want the scenario to run between. And you can even have specified dates. So you can select a month and a date and a time. So yeah, you got all possible options right there.
Great. Another question that we have is, what is the best way to cycle over a list of elements? As in, enumerate items in XML file and create new polls accordingly.
Not sure how to answer that question. Seemed a little roundabout to me, but if you're talking about, we've got something called repeater. So if you need to, if I understand correctly, if you need to repeat a particular module, suppose you want to repeat this particular module, you can actually use a repeater right here and basically add it between these modules. Repeater will basically repeat the previous module. So yeah, if I can look at the question again. How to populate files, okay, best recycle over list of elements. Again, you can send me these questions, guys, and I'll try my best to get you the answers.
All right, so next question that we have.
How do you remove a module? Okay, very easy, you just right click. Yeah, so for every module, you can do a bunch of things. You can, while testing, you can run a particular module only. You can add error handlers. You can rename the module, which is actually very, very useful. So whatever, you can rename this to maybe the name of the person who you're assigning this to, or the name of the pulse. So let's call it daily report. That's what my pulse is called. So you can rename each module. When you right click, you can clone a module, you can add a note. So this is really useful if you're giving access to your scenarios to someone else in your company. You can add notes for each module explaining the purpose of each of those modules, so that anyone who gets access to can understand. And of course, you can delete a module right here.
Right now, Jay is asking if there's a scenario that could allow him to create dependencies.
What exactly do you mean there by dependencies? Can you elaborate, please?
Yeah. Is it a recurring task, Jay? Is it to change the status, for example, of one pulse based on another pulse? So just.
Okay. So yeah, I think we touched on the first scenario that we had, right? That basically changes the status of pulses. So yeah, when you're setting such scenarios, I purposely selected the same board every time, and I selected the same the same group. But if you need to create rules where you want to update another board based on certain actions, you can easily do that. So if you look at this particular scenario, the first one that we one, which is updated due status column based on another status column, they do not need to be in the same board, right? So when you're using the updated status columns value module, you can actually select another board, or you can select another set of pulses. So just for the sake of understanding this, for the sake of this webinar, we've kept it simple, but in every module, you get to select the connection and the board ID. So essentially, you can even have different monday.com accounts and you can exchange data between them, right? Because you've got one particular account that maybe lists pulses in a board, and then you've got another account where you're updating the status column, right? So I could select any board from here. I could select different columns from here. And yeah, I hope that partially answers your question.
Great. Derek is asking, what kind of looping features are available? We have a software that we would want to bring into through its API, then loop it through and filter, then create a pulses in monday.com based on that.
Okay.
So we want to bring in orders from the software, then loop through and create pulses based on the orders that fit specific criteria.
Yeah. Okay. So I think for this, if that particular software is not already available on Integromat, you need to use our HTTP module to fetch data from that particular API. So as I was showing the HTTP module, you can actually make a request. You can make a basic auth request. You can do an OAuth request. And then it's very easy to set up essentially. Right now, I'll have to create a new scenario for this. Just let me just do that. Let me just go to my scenario, then create a new scenario. But yeah, essentially the HTTP module lets you fetch data from any API or any web service. And once you have that data, you can further use that data wherever you want, right? So you can send that information to monday.com and then further wherever else you want to. Another thing that I'd like to show you is data stores, which is another inbuilt feature that Integromat offers, which is particularly useful in cases like these where you need to store data from a particular source and then use that data in other scenarios, right? So just quickly going to take you through the HTTP module. Apologies for slow connectivity. Yeah, so you can make a basic request and just enter the URL, choose your method right here, and then that's it. I mean, you can fetch the data, and then the next module can be like you were asking a monday.com module, and you can you have all the actions, you have your searches. You can based on information that you hear in list pulses or do any of these searches, right? And then what I want to show you are data stores. So a data store is like a database as a service, which is pre-built into Integromat, and it kind of, it's very easy. It works somewhat like a Google Sheet or a spreadsheet. And I'm going to just select an existing data store of mine here. And that's the data structure that I've created, but you can actually create a new data store, and you can define a data structure. So if I click on add, I can actually find the entire data structure here. I can add, say, item A, type, default is optional. And then we've got another item. So yeah, you can basically create your own data structure, store all the data here, and then use this data in further scenarios. You know, so you could fetch the information from a software, store in the data store, and in the next scenario, fetch the data from the data store and use it in further modules. I hope that helps.
Great. Don has two more questions. So the first question is, I'm creating folders in Google Drive and docs in Google Docs. In those folders, based on groups and pulses, is there a way to only create a folder only if it doesn't exist? Is it possible to create if else situation?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I'm saying, is it possible to create a if else situation easily. And then also, we would like to know if we can change the status based on a combined status of another column, meaning all pulses in a group are done, update the status in a different board.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So to answer the first question, that's what our filters do essentially. But for your particular scenario, I'll have to basically see. This is definitely possible. You can just create a rule to check if that particular folder exists or not. And if it doesn't exist, so here's where you need a router, and you'll have two routes. One with the filter that checks if the folder exists or not. If the folder exists already, then you can add another action, or you can not have any other action after that. And if it doesn't exist, you can create a new one. And in all such scenarios, you can have a default action also. So if neither one is true, you can have a default answer. So again, I could share the details separately, because I'll have to create the scenario and show you how it works. Okay, yeah, so the next question was, can you change the status based on the number status of another column? That is, all pulses in a group are done, update the status in a different board. All right. Let me, again, get back to you on this, because it's something I'll have to create, and I don't want to do that while others are waiting. So, but I believe this should be possible. Yeah.
Great. So we have another question from Jay, I believe. 1 second. So if a pulse is completed, it would change the status of another pulse from waiting to working on it?
It depends. I mean, you can set it up as you want to. Like when I shared the scenario, I changed the status based on the status that I had set up: due today, overdue, upcoming, and done. So you can create your own statuses within Monday.com, and then you can map each of those statuses. So yeah, it's totally up to you. I mean, these are just examples. You can literally do whatever you want. You can have different colors assigned to different statuses, and yeah.
Great. We have another question from Christy. She's asking if do we feel that the 3 scenarios presented will handle most things we need to do with Monday.com that Monday.com cannot do? I can answer this question, Christy. These 3 scenarios are for sure the most popular questions that we usually get, and now with Integromat, you are able to do it. And so, yeah, I mean, this is why we created that integration with Integromat. We feel like it's a great addition and a great integration that allows you to do more things with Monday.com. So definitely these are the 3 most popular scenarios that we hear, or at least, we get questions about from our users.
Yeah, and we plan to keep adding a lot more templates, so you can just submit your request to us directly, and we'll just keep adding more and more templates so that it's super easy for you to set these up. Because sometimes scenarios can get really tricky because there's so many things that you can do, and it might get overwhelming. And that's why we got this awesome templates feature. And yeah, so yeah, please feel free to write to me or write to support@integromat.com with your requests.
Great. Let's see. I think we have another question from Dustin. What is the best practice with Integromat for handling HTTP response codes? For example, checking if it's 200 over 20x or not. Sorry, I'm not familiar with HTTP.
Well, I'm not sure how to answer that question. We generally leave it at 200 as the standard response code, but again, you can send this question. I'll get back to you. I'll have to check with our developers to answer that question accurately.
Great. Do you guys have any other questions? Since we have Arpit here with us, it's a great opportunity for you guys to ask anything. And Arpit Dustin is saying that maybe not specific to Monday.com. He was thinking more about router route filters. If you have any suggestions.
Yeah. Any particular questions regarding Integromat? I mean, I could go on, I could show you so many cool things, but we've only got so much time. But yeah, we hope to keep having more and more such webinars to show you everything that you can do, really.
Absolutely. And again, guys, if you have any questions and you cannot remember those today, nothing comes up in mind right now, and you know you have anything else to ask later on, by all means, feel free to either email us to support@monday.com or to Integromat. They're obviously super knowledgeable about their platform, so they're able to help. Arpit shared his email in the chat. Yeah. So feel free to reach out to any of us. And let's wait for just about a minute to see if you guys have any other questions. If not, we will say our goodbyes.
I'm just going to share some more URLs in the chat, useful links that you guys can look up immediately after the webinar. So functions are really cool and really powerful. So it's good to kind of familiarize yourself with the functions that we have. I'm just going to share the link to our pricing page to learn more about our pricing, and link to a page defining some basic parameters or basic terms that we use in Integromat. And for, of course, yeah, and any of you who's interested in building a native integration with Integromat, bringing your apps to Integromat, do check out our developer platform. I'm just going to drop the link to that as well in the chat. So we're always looking for cool apps and cool integrations. Get on board, and yeah, I'm just gonna.
Another question for Don. I'm also actually interested in hearing this. He wants to know if you can show us something fun you're working on, or what's the craziest thing you've created so far.
All right. Okay. Well, I can show you a particular screenshot. Just let me dig it right over. And this is something that I haven't created, but it's basically a scenario that one of our clients created. And just looking at the screenshot will give you a pretty cool idea of what you can literally do with Integromat, you know? So yeah, like just think about a scenario as an integration where you can literally have hundreds of steps. You know, you can use all kinds of tools. You can keep adding steps. You don't need to create different scenarios for each thing that you do. So if you really dig deep and if you learn about the platform, you'll see that just one scenario can really do so much. You know, so I'm just getting the screenshot. Had I known, I would have pulled it out earlier. And of course, guys, we have a pretty thriving Facebook community as well. So I'm just going to drop the link to that, and please feel free to join it. In fact, this is available. This particular discussion is there on our community. I'm just going to share my screen quickly, and there you go. Did you see that? This is just part of the scenario that you can see. I hope you guys can see that. And you can just see how many modules there are. And it's just part of the scenario, you know, you can do so much more. And we actually use Integromat for a lot of internal stuff. We have a lot of crazy integrations that help us with our day-to-day tasks, which help us update our workflows. It literally helps our developers with a lot of stuff that they do. So it's a great tool if you're planning to use it for your company, or even just to automate your personal workflows. Yeah, like talking about personal workflows. Talking about personal workflows, you can also get our mobile app, Integromat mobile app. And what it does is it lets you create scenarios using information from your phone. So you could create location specific scenarios. You could create like a geofence and trigger scenarios when you move out of the geofence. So like literally there are millions of things that you can actually do here. So
amazing. All right, guys, I would like to thank you for joining us today. Just so you guys know, this is our webinar page, monday.com/webinars. Feel free to log on here and register to any of our next webinars. And of course, here on the on-demand section, you'll be able to see this webinar later on today as soon as the recording is ready. So if you need to listen to this again, do not worry. It's going to be right here, ready for you to watch. And I would like to thank Arpit again for joining us.
It's my pleasure, guys.
So much. I mean, you've been so informative and helpful and so knowledgeable. So thank you so much. This is a really great integration, guys, and it does allow you to bring a lot of more opportunities to your account. So if you have any questions, reach out to us, reach out to Arpit or to Integromat. And yeah, thank you, everyone.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. Really appreciate it. And just dropping our email addresses once again if you need to send an email to us directly, and we'll try our best to help you out with your monday.com integration. So yeah, hope you have a productive week ahead.
Same for you, Arpit. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
See you soon on our new webinars at monday.com. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, guys. See you.